Thank you for having me on.
So I want to begin with what is happening in Syria right now. How will this, some are calling it a ceasefire, some are calling it a pause, and this subsequent agreement be enforced if indeed the U.S. is pulling out of northern Syria?
Yeah, I think it really is a pause, and it's an acquiescence to Turkey. And we know Erdogan's wanted to do this for a while and enter northern Syria. I think it just leaves a big vacuum if we're not there. You know, the Russians are stepping in, Assad's resurgent again, and we've abandoned our allies, the Kurds. I think this is devastating for the Kurdish forces that fought side by side with our men and women.
Mitch McConnell sees it as devastating, too. And in his first line in that op-ed, I mean, he makes a statement. Withdrawing U.S. forces from Syria is a grave strategic mistake. How do you see this being either corrected or rectified?
You know, you saw a real big bipartisan vote in the House of Representatives. I would hope if Leader McConnell feels that way, there'll be a big vote on the Senate side this coming week. And then we're sending a message to the president. We've got to maintain a presence in that region. Otherwise, you'll see a resurgence of ISIS. I understand the president's reluctance to keep forces there, but this week he increased our troop presence in Saudi Arabia by 3,000. So, you know, as much as we'd like to bring everyone home, we've got interest in that region to protect our national security.
So how do you interpret what you know, Mitch McConnell and other critics have been saying about the president? Mitch McConnell, you know, writing in that op-ed, you know, saying, and he didn't say Trump by name, but instead he said, unfortunately, the administration's recent steps in Syria do not reflect these crucial lessons. And he's talking about, you know, spelling out 3 valuable lessons learned from his work with previous administrations on fighting terrorism. In any way, is this kind of a microcosm that Mitch McConnell would speak, a microcosm of a crack in GOP support for the president? What do you see this as perhaps headlining any action to come?
You know, I think many Republicans are uncomfortable with this. Obviously, our veterans and our men and women in service are uncomfortable with this decision. But we've seen this repeatedly with the president. You know, last December, he said he wanted to pull troops out of Syria and tweeted that out after a phone call with Erdogan. He had folks like General Mattis and General Kelly and others that could walk him back from that decision. This time, there's no one around him. I mean, all the folks that might offer a moderating influence in his cabinet, they're all gone. He's surrounded with yes folks, and I think going forward, he ought to consult Congress. He ought to sit down with us and talk about the policy decision and the best way to execute that decision. That hasn't been his management style, though.
I want to talk now about, you know, the House Impeachment Inquiry. You know, you heard the EU Ambassador Gordon Sondland's testimony this week. He said it wasn't until after the fact that he realized that Rudy Giuliani, the personal attorney of, you know, Donald Trump, may have been trying to involve the Ukrainians in investigating the president's political rivals. Did that seem credible, believable to you?
You know, his opening statement and sitting through hours of that deposition puts Rudy Giuliani right at the center of a lot of this decision making and puts him side by side with President Trump. You know, these depositions are, you know, I'm glad folks are coming forward and being candid with us. You know, Ambassador Sondland had some memory lapses there, and I hope he's able to fill those in. But, you know, what he's providing us, you know, certainly builds the case for, you know, how the president made these decisions and what his intent was. And then, you know, Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney pretty much corroborated what we suspected in terms of a pay-for-play.
The admission. So let's talk about the timeline now, potentially. Sources are telling CNN that, you know, Democrats hope to wrap up this inquiry by year's end with the goal to impeach by Thanksgiving. What can you say to that?
You know, I think it's dangerous to put a set timeline on this. I mean, we're in the process of deposing individuals, collecting a set of facts, and, you know, we're just moving forward. You know, obviously, we don't really want this to spill into the presidential election cycle, but let's do our job and let's see where the facts lead and let's find the truth.
All right, Congressman Ami Bera, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.